What's going on, people? So, Asics, right? It's not a brand I really talk about a whole lot, though I do like them a whole lot, right? So it's kind of weird in that way, whatever. But this particular week, I happened to just go and wear all Asics for the week, right? So the only real reason that I did that was because I broke out a new lanyard for work, Usagi Ojimbo, right? Maybe if you're a Ninja Turtles person, you know what I'm talking about. I was like, he's a Japanese guy. I'll break out some Japanese shoes, right? I was gonna do themes of things based on Japanese things or whatever, but then I thought, no, I'm just gonna go with Asics because I don't do that often enough, right? Either way, so since I don't really talk about them a whole lot, I'm gonna take some time talk about them today, right? And this isn't a whole collection video, obviously, because there's only what, like 8 boxes here. I have more than 8 shoes, right? If you are looking for the collection, right, I have done that already. Somebody asked to put a comment in the past, like, "Oh, you should do collection videos." I'm like, "You should do your homework, right? Because keep things pretty well organized on the channel. There's playlists and all that nonsense. So that way, if you want to watch specific things, go and watch those specific things. Leave me out of it. But either way, here's the thing, right? I'm going to talk about these handful right here. As far as talking about the whole bunch of them at some other point, probably won't happen, right? Because at this point, like I said, I already did that. And anything that gets added is basically just going to be more running shoes, right? So I don't think that that's anything that people really care to hear about, though I will be doing a live sort of thing talking about some of my preferred running and just general workout wear, because I got a bunch of pants in the other day, talk about maybe some of these shirts and the different shoes or the different brands that I prefer. But today, like I said, Asics, let's go ahead and get this thing moving so we don't have to be here all day. Not with this box, but with the box that you don't see, but you did see in the thumbnail. These right here, I was about to say the Alpha Bounce because I keep thinking Alpha Bounce. Active Breeze 3D, right? So much like Adidas did their 4D things, these are kind of just a 3D printed shoe, right? So all this stuff, you got all these holes in it and whatnot. It's kind of cool. It's a little plasticky, right? The one thing that I don't like about these, well, there's a couple things I don't like about these. Leading off, one thing I don't like about these, because they're 3D printed, each one can come out just a little bit different, right? So one of these, I think it's the right one, feels like extra bouncy in the back, whereas the left one feels kind of just more like dead. So not a fan of that. Also, the sizing of these is a little weird. It's kind of like the Prestos, right? Where it's not just a straight 9.5, 10, 10.5, whatever. It's that whole small, medium, large situation. So you got to read the chart, figure out what makes sense for you, do that, right? And I ended up getting large, I believe, because that was the size that made sense according to the chart. But they feel big and they look even bigger. And that's just, I'm a small guy, right? Wearing these big shoes look like a freaking clown over here, right? I mean, if it was Violent J or Shaggy 2 Dope, wouldn't complain, but I'm talking like Bozo type clown, right? Not okay. Either way, these right here, they're also not super cheap and they're also not super easy to find. So really, if you're looking for a pair of slides and you're looking for Asics specifically, they do have some other things that I've seen. They're cool and all, right? But I would really just put my efforts and energy and money into something else. But whatever. I already have them, so I may as well wear them, right? And I am indoors a lot, so I have a lot of slides. I do need a pair of New Balance slides. So if you happen to be a New Balance person, you know about New Balance slides, go ahead and throw a recommendation my way. I'd greatly appreciate it. Let's move on. So first up, and these are in order actually, right, of the way that I wore them for the week. So we're going to kick things off with this right here. This is the Kayano 29. Yeah, I know it's a little dated because they have the 30 out and all that good stuff. I get it. I got a pair of 30s over there. Haven't worn them yet. Haven't done the review or anything, but eventually. Either way, Kayano 29. I've said it before. I'll say it one more time. Well, many more times, I'm sure. The Kayano is my personally preferred running shoe, right? It's got a nice foam thing going on down here, right? It's not super cushiony, but it's got the nice stability, it gives you a smooth ride, as they like to say, or whatever. Kind of like if you go back and you think about the Ultra Boost 19 after the Ultra Boost 4, kind of that sort of deal, right? So I like them. The look of them, I mean, to me, a lot of Asics all look the same. It is what it is, but I do like these a fair amount. This was the color that I really liked, it's got like a little bit of this mustard yellow sort of thing going on, some gray. But yeah, I don't have any of that combination. But either way, I bought these originally to wear to San Diego Comic Con this year for me and a pair for mom, right? They worked out great, honestly. And now having worn them for a couple runs and whatnot this week, yeah, these are definitely solid. So I'm looking forward to breaking out those 30s whenever that happens. But again, Asics, they make a lot of different running shoes, right? It's kind of their thing. So they kind of compete with like the Nimbus in some ways. So if you don't prefer the stability side and you want more of the cushion side, go with the Nimbus. I don't have the latest pair to show off right now. I do own a pair. It's deep over there. But in this particular stack, you won't see one because I haven't worn them. Well, I haven't done all the review stuff just yet. And I don't wear stuff until all the review stuff is done 9 times out of 10. Exceptions being the Vapor Max 23. That was one. And also, I think the Magic Gray Ultra Boost 22. Moving along. This right here. This is the Gel Light 3. If you've seen my videos in the past, Asics wise, you know that hey, BX is there. What's going on? Asics gel. Some of these, actually, I think all of these are gel based, minus the Nova Blast and the thing I wore Thursday and these 3D shoes. I think these are all gel based, actually. But either way, so if you've seen some of my Asics videos in the past and whatnot, or you've browsed through the old Asics playlist, you've probably seen a whole lot of Gel Light 3s. It's a thing that I'm a fan of, right? They've been around since, what, 90, I believe, was their debut mark or whatever. This particular one, you might be able to notice that. I'll bring it in just a little closer. This is the denim, well, it's a denim pair. It's got a little leather patch back there. There we go. There's some focus. So you got a leather patch in back there with the brown, and then the brown on the very back that says gel. That lower area here, this is all going to be leather as well. And the Asics sign is, but the rest of it is going to be denim, right? So it's nice. They had another pair that I think was, it was either like a really dark blue or a black, like a deep navy. I can't recall exactly, but this was definitely the one that I wanted more so than those. And I believe this is Okayama denim, some kind of Japanese thing. Got a nice gum bottom going on down there. The one thing a lot of people don't really, well, I don't say don't like, but it does turn some people away here. The split tongue sort of thing that they have going on, right? Because not everybody's into that, right? And some people don't even notice it until you point it out. But either way, you look in there and it is kind of comfortable in a way because like it's like some extra padding on the front of your foot. So I do like that aspect of it. The one thing I don't like, and that's where sizing kind of comes into play, is like these fit perfectly fine at true to size for me, right? Same with those Kayano 29s. They fit perfectly fine at true to size. But the thing is, this thing might not always close like exactly for everybody, at that same size. So then it's like if these like aesthetic things kind of bother you, you might want to go up a half a size just so that way it closes properly and looks neater. You might end up with a little extra space in the shoe or whatever, but it's kind of like which one means most to you, right? But either way, I do have a good number of Gel Light 3s. For the longest time, this was all I bought from Asics, right? So at this point, I'm thinking, I don't know, I'd say probably like 14, 15 or something like that. That'd be my rough guess. But let's keep things going on over here. I don't need to be here all day. You don't need to be here all day either. This right here, like I said, is the Nova Blast 3, right? It doesn't say gel on the side of the box, which is why I left these out when I was talking about gel-based shoes. So either way, these are actually just hit a price drop on Asics. Got an email about it this morning. They're down to 109 versus the 140, I think it is. Either way, I bought some pairs of these earlier in the year for me, for mom, for dad, because I thought, like, okay, everybody's talking about these. Like, I know how I generally feel about things, but sometimes I want more opinions to go off of than just mine. So when I talk about stuff, I can give you like a more well-rounded view or whatever. So I bought some pairs for them too. We wore them to some weekend events and whatnot. And I figured this way I'll have something to talk about. Long story short, they like them, right? They didn't really like overly hype them up. They were just like, oh, these are cool. They're super light, very light actually. That was kind of what they were saying. And they're comfortable, right? You can't take that away from mostly anything from Asics. But at the end of the day, they didn't talk about them as highly as they've talked about certain other things. So that led me to believe that, yeah, much like myself, I find them to be fine. But the visual, that's kind of where they lose some points because I'm not super into it, right? This big chunky backside here, not a big fan of it. And walking around in these, again, I prefer the stable side more than like the cushiony, bouncy side. These kind of cushiony, kind of bouncy, and I'm not super into it. It's not bad. I'm not going to say these are bad. It's just everybody has their preferences, right? But they were cheap enough that I thought, let's go ahead and see what these are all about, see what the people are talking about. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Coffee, what's going on, man? Long time no see. But that's mostly my fault because I've been laying pretty low in this little YouTube social media world lately. But I'm kind of easing my way back into it, dipping my toes in the waters. So either way, the Nova Blast 3, they're they're good. I mean, if you want something that's just cheap, comfortable, and it has like a nice variety of colors, yeah, go ahead, check it out or whatever. But personally, like if you're looking for a running shoe or whatever, depending on what you're into, maybe do a little bit more research before you part ways with your dollar bills. Let's see what's in this next box. Any guesses? Probably none that were accurate, because this is one that people do not talk about a whole lot. This is the Kayano 14, I believe, right? Yeah, Gel Kayano 14, and it's one of the older models, right? Obviously, you can kind of look at it and you can kind of see that this does not look like something too modern, right? At least not 2023 modern. But I will tell you this, these things are so freaking comfortable right here. Like if you can find a pair of Kayano 14s, they're usually not too expensive from what I've seen. Go ahead and pick them up if you find a color that works for you or whatever. I tried these out at the suggestion of somebody in a comment many moons ago, and whoever that person was, I thank them every time I put these on because they are very nice. Now, had I bought a pair of these whenever they first came out or whatever, I might be an even bigger Asics person nowadays than I am like of Nike or Adidas or whatever, because they just probably would have like really grabbed my attention. I can't see running in these anymore because just the style of them a little clunky in some ways. But this midsole got this whole ortholite thing going on and the gel stuff. Very nice. And the upper is really good too. Yeah, I'm not trying to overhype these or whatever, but I'm just saying, like, for me personally, these as a model rank pretty high. And they look kind of cool, right? They got a nice little beige and some grays and stuff going on in here. Thing isn't quite focusing how I want it to, but, you know, the camera just kind of does whatever the camera wants to do sometimes. But yeah, these right here, big fan of them. If you see a pair, Kayano 14s, go ahead and look into it, right? Don't run outside and look for every pair right now or whatever. It's not that serious. But if you're on a website talking about Kayanos and that's an option, it's something to consider. Now let's move along, move along, move along. So this right here, what is this? This is the Nimbus 23? Yeah, no, Cumulus 23. This is the Cumulus 23, right? I broke these out the other day, didn't wear them to work or anything like these other shoes. But on Thursday, I went to a local wrestling event, over at the PBR place. And I put these on because, I like to switch shoes during the day or whatever. I go out, do one thing. Then if I go out and do something else, a little bit of a change up, right? Keeps the rotation moving along. Either way, the Cumulus, right? You got the Cumulus, you got the Nimbus, you got the Kayano as far as running shoes go. Somewhere in there, probably in the middle, is where the Nova Blast is competing or whatever. But those main three that I just talked about, easily the bottom of those, right? Price wise and comfort wise, which kind of goes hand in hand, right? Are they bad? Again, I'm not going to say they're bad, but you definitely feel more of the ground when you're walking around in these right here, right? So there is that. But I can't remember what the price difference was. It was like $20, $30 or something like that, from these to like a Kayano. So you should notice that and then think maybe these aren't going to be so good. But the one thing where they came through was definitely like on the look. So I just like how they have this little sort of lava thing going on. It's almost like the upper piece is like some mesh and all that stuff. Then down in there you can kind of see like another version of it, or another layer of it, I should say. So yeah, it just looks really cool, but they just feel like trash, so that kind of sucks. But whatever, I mean, for what I was doing, I was just gonna be out walking around a little bit and then sitting down for the most part. If I was to run, yeah, definitely not going with the Cumulus. It's just not my thing. Moving along, Thursday, I decided to go back in time, or not Thursday, that was for those. Friday, I also like to go a little flashier sometimes for work, something that has a little more color to it. But these right here, the Sage Gel Saga, I got these from the Asics eBay store, actually. I always forget to bring that up, but Asics has an eBay store. If you just look it up on Asics or on eBay, you'll probably find it. They often sell a lot of things super cheap on there, right? I got these for like $20, right? I had originally almost bought them for about 40 from their website, but then I forgot my size sold out, and then they had them over there. So it actually worked out better that way. Either way, that's what they're looking like. You got a whole lot of suede going on down here. On this upper piece, you have some sort of like nylon meshy sort of deal going on, kind of like what you might see on an Air Max Dawn, right? That sort of thing, or even the what's that thing, the Retropy E5 if you're an Adidas person. You got that happening. So I don't know if the camera's going to focus or not. Looks like it's not, but that's fine. Either way, so you got that happening, and then more of the suede and all that stuff. So overall, a lot of suede here and a lot of deep fall type colors and stuff. So I really like the way these came out. $20 well spent, well, 26 after shipping and maybe some taxes. But either way, the money I spent on these, totally worth it. And I can thank Bobby Sneaker World for those because he's the one who told me about them initially. And that was actually my first ever Asics purchase since doing this whole shoe thing, right? Last pair, nothing fancy, but it is what I wore today because I had to go out and go running because I didn't get to it yesterday. Ended things off with the Nimbus 23, right? Nimbus 23. So like I was saying, the Nimbus, it's a little more cushiony than it is stable and all that, or firm, or however you want to say it. But it's not bad, right? It's just, what is your personal preference? Go ahead and get that. Though to some extent, they say like that your pronation should come into play on some of these different pairs or whatever. But for me, mine is kind of neutral, so I'm just going to go with whatever I like the best. But either way, that's the thing. It's all on the Asics webpage or anything that talks about podiatry or whatever it's called. But just off of this right here, right? Whatever your preference is between the two, or if you don't have a preference, just get the cheapest one or the one that looks the best, whichever. But this right here, the Nimbus, again, I'm not going to say it's bad. It's just not exactly for me when it comes to the functionality of it. Day-to-day wear, no complaints. I would go either way, that way, right? But I do like the red and the black. It's kind of a cool look or whatever. I bought these originally just because they were the most decent looking ones. I just wanted to try them out. And having tried them out and having made my opinion, you're not going to see me wearing a whole lot of Nimbuses or buying a whole lot of Nimbuses. Though I did buy a pair of the 25s. You'll see those because everybody was talking about them. But, maybe like every 4 or 5 versions, I'll probably pick one up, which again is a lot of the reason I don't see myself doing another Asics collection video because I just don't see myself buying a whole lot of their stuff. I really like those Gelite 3s and those Kayanos and such, right? But how many more am I really going to need to buy, huh? But either way, so there's going to be that. Just wanted to sit down and go through this real quick. Kept it under 20 minutes. Not too bad for 8 pairs of shoes or whatever. 7 shoes and 1 pair of slides. So that's cool. If anybody has anything to say or whatever, you got a few minutes to say that before I get this thing completely wrapped up and click that little end stream button. But for now, I'm going to start closing this thing out because that's what I do about this time. So that being said, from me to you, have a nice rest of your day or rest of your night, whatever it is, wherever you are. I am probably not going to be recording anything else today. And usually I do actual videos first, and then I do some kind of live in the evening. Today, I'm just doing this because I happen to feel like doing it, right? So there is that. Tomorrow, I'll probably do some wrestling stuff and work on getting some actual shoe things out sooner or later. But that's going to be it for me. Like I said, I'm going to go on, do some other stuff with my Saturday. Hopefully you guys find something to do with yours that is more beneficial to you than listening to me. So that being that, later people, and there's the button.